Jennifer, what are some of the things, if elected a second time for mayor, you look forward to having an opportunity to accomplish?
Well, first I want to sit down with the Board of Aldermen very quickly and talk about the capital projects. I think we're going to have to reprioritize them and put some on a back burner. I know that the Hargett Farm is near and dear to a lot of residents on the west end of town, and it's important to have adequate number of fields in our city, but the long-term cost of that's probably about $75 million. And I have asked for and haven't yet received from the city what the projections are. And the acquisition cost is $18 million. That debt went out, and we're going to pay about $1.5 million carrying costs on that.
It's going to take 4 or 5 years to decide exactly what you want to do with it. But let me remind you that on Carroll Creek, we have spent $72,977,489.
Right. No question that we invest money in places, but on Carroll Creek, using just the 4 buildings that are there now, the city portion of the property tax this year alone is over $600,000. So, I'm not saying that you do things just because you're going to get money back, but we didn't have this in the long-term fiscal forecast of the city of Frederick until last year.
Correct.
And that's not how you make a $75 million decision.
It's still a resource that over the years that can be developed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think what we need to do, this is, you asked what I'm going to do when I sit down with the Board of Aldermen, and this is an example. We're going to come up with the best financial numbers, the best evidence. We're going to come out and talk to the community through the NAC meetings, through the community roundtables that we did twice a year when I was mayor before. Talk about the big projects. What are people looking for? Where do you want us to invest money? Obviously, we need to make sure that we're making the right investment in public safety as well. A lot of people are talking about whether we're going to put a full police substation or a new police headquarters. Honestly, I don't think we can afford it in the next couple of years. I talked to Tom Bradley, who manages the Fredericktown Mall, and I said, how about this City Hall at the mall idea? A resident sent me this idea, and I think it's great. You can put police, public code enforcement, and permits people in a small shop in the Fredericktown Mall for the time being until their redevelopment. Or
you can put them at the Hargett Farm. You've got 2 houses.
Well, you could put them at the Hargett Farm, but right now there are people going to the mall. And if people need shed and fence permits, they could go into this office rather than come downtown. A temporary setup, a temporary meaning maybe 2, 3, 5 years, so we can have a full-blown discussion on what happens at the Hargett Farm and how it's developed and how we pay for it. And also make sure that the Fredericktown Mall knows that we're interested in their redevelopment scheme in a meaningful way.
Okay, there's one thing that you had talked about, which kind of, you said we want to create more opportunities by finishing Hill Street Park with a pool and then work to get a bubble over the pool and a skate park for year-round use.
Yeah.
Well, we in Hillcrest don't want that.
What are you talking about? Hold on, time out now.
Well,
now you're back up my term. I was in charge, not charged, but I was a representative there with a lot of POS money.
And if you go on to crimereports.com, Blaine Young, that's exactly where you see the crime.
You two aren't running for mayor.
David Lane and Hill Street Park.
But here's the conversation.
And Blaine's pissed because I'm not.
Hill Street Park was originally designed to have the skate park, fields, and a swimming pool. Mm-hmm. When I left, it was still supposed to have the swimming pool. Quickly, that pool came out. Obviously, any conversation has to be a conversation. You put it out in front of people whether they like it or not. But I don't need to create these ideas. People give me these ideas, and then you have the conversation and manage them through. That's what I like to talk about, with Carroll Creek, which would be completing the Carroll Creek as the next phase. I didn't design every nook and cranny or any nook and cranny on Carroll Creek Park. My job was to make sure it happened. My job was not to make sure that a certain tree or certain lighting was done. The task force handled that. Economic development weighed in. The HPC weighed in. My job as mayor was to make sure it followed a process and that we got it done. And nobody thought we could get it done in 4 years, and we did.
Well, let me say about, but because before I spent 4 years as alderman, I was on the Parks and Rec committee as alderman, and then as a commission member there, total of 9 years. When Hill Street was brought forward, the neighbors designed that park. Mm-hmm. So I want to say is, when that was done through...
But things change.
Well, I understand that, but and I understand it also, but I just want to say that anytime a new park, they would bring in folks from the neighborhood and say, What do you want in the
Sure.
park?
We can
Wanna make sure the field's not too close to a house here, this and that. So
we can do that out later. But one of the things you're talking about is bringing a veterans rehabilitation center to
Yes.
Frederick. What's that about?
Well, we need some jobs here, and we have a national need for additional services for our returning veterans. In Frederick, we have a workforce that is perfectly suited in service and support. We also have many professionals, medical professionals, here in Frederick and in the surrounding counties. If you look at opportunities to redevelop on the Golden Mile, and I don't even think it's Fredericktown Mall that's the best spot, but that comes from further discussions. You work with Congressman Bartlett, and you work with the two U.S. senators, Mikulski and Cardin, and say, bring us a federal support center, because we are going to have an endless supply of demands for our returning Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. I was talking to a lady on Stonegate yesterday, or 2 days ago, and she was talking about having to make these trips down to the VA because
Sure.
no one else can take care of her husband. And this idea is because we need it as a nation. We could use it as a jobs generator, and we have the opportunity because the infrastructure is there in place. We need more than shopping mall redevelopment. And I don't make any apologies for the Golden Mile Task Force when I was mayor, or the redevelopment of the Golden Mile. The tax credit district worked as designed, and those shopping malls look better. Boscov's came because of it. Home Depot's there. It did create 1,000 more jobs. We do need those entry-level and service-level jobs, but we can have other opportunities as well. And with the mixed-use zoning that was added, I think it's a good opportunity for us.
Well, I will say that when you introduced that bringing the veterans facilities here, I said, how in the world is she going to pull this off? But I will tell you this much. There are a tremendous amount of those that have served in our armed forces that always complain about having to go to Martinsburg.
Oh, absolutely.
To get treatment and or medicine and or whatever they need. So
it's a long shot.
I don't know if it can be done.
It can't be done in 4 years.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the trick of a politician to promise something that takes more than 4 years.
VA moves very slowly,
Sure.
and they're extremely independent.
I agree with all of that, but you have to put it out there, and I think it's a great opportunity for Frederick because.
But I want to know, why'd you put it out there? I mean, was it just from talking to folks? I mean, was that where it came from?
It absolutely is. And it's because I've watched over the last 2 years money being plowed into the VA, and we're not getting it. And I keep talking to families who are affected by the shortage of services. That's why are we the second or third largest city in the state, and we don't have the services available for our residents? And I think it's a necessity. It will take political pull. It will take political work. But fortunately, we have 3 people with the right appointments or the right committee seats in Washington, and I think we can work on it.
Okay, what about a regional law school?
A regional law school is a great way to start another network for young people. People west of Baltimore really don't have any place to go to law school. Cumberland, Hagerstown. We can do additional services for young people, keep them here in Frederick. Daytime, nighttime classes. You can rent out.
Could be an extension of Maryland or something like that.
It could be an extension of Maryland. It could be Hood or Mount St. Mary's or Frostburg, one of the state schools. UB has an outstanding law program. You could actually get them to locate here. And with a law school versus a medical school, for instance, you don't need much more than space.
Correct.
And we know that there's a lot of Class A space coming in on the creek. The Board of Ed might have extra space for a while. I don't know. But it's there, or it's, in the Brickworks property, a way to keep people downtown all day and all night. Because law schools continue to generate. We know we have a lot of lawyers here. We have judges. We have people who can teach. Why do our people have to go to Baltimore or Washington to go to law school?
We should never lost Frostburg to Hagerstown.
That's right.
I mean, we should just, that should have been here.
You're
And I'm
probably sorry now.
Well, there's a lot of folks involved with that, but it'd been nice to have that still here, that facility here in Frederick. Talking with Jennifer Dougherty, Democrat running for mayor, 301-694-WFMD, 301-694-9363. We're going to take a quick break. I want to thank